አደባባይ ሚዲያ ለወገንተኝነት ጀርባውን የሰጠ ጊዜያዊ ጥቅምን አምቢኝ ብሎ የዘመመን ሊያቀና እውነትና እውቀትን አስከትሎ ኢኮኖሚያዊና መንፈሳዊ መረጃዎችን እንካችሁ ይላል። ትኩስ ዜናዎች፣ ዘጋቢ ፊልሞች፣ ጥልቅ ትንታኔዎች በአደባባይ ሚዲያ ይቀርባሉ። ራእያችን ጊዜውን ያማከለና ዘመኑን የዋጀ በእውነት የነጠሩ መረጃዎችን በእውቀት ደግፎ ለሀገራችን ብሎ ለዓለም ሕዝብ ማዳረስ ነው። አድሬሳችን አደባባይ ኢንፎ ሚዲያ @gmail.com፣ በዌብሳይታችን www.adebabai.com። ያግኙን፣ ይርዱን። የሁላችንም ስለሆነች ኢትዮጵያ በአደባባይ እንዘግባለን። አደባባይ ሚዲያ።
አደባባይ ሚዲያ የኔ ነው። አደባባይ ሚዲያ የኔም ነው። አደባባይ ሚዲያ የኔ ነው። አደባባይ ሚዲያ የሁላችንም ነው። የኛ ቤተሰብ አደባባይ ሚዲያን ይመለከታል። የእናንተስ? Do your parents watch አደባባይ ሚዲያ? Watch, follow, subscribe and help አደባባይ። አደባባይ ሚዲያ ለወገንተኝነት ጀርባውን የሰጠ።
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us from around the world. This is Adebabay Media's Viewer Digest program. My name is EOTC, and I'll be your host for today. This month we're celebrating National Adoption Month, and as such, we've invited a guest that has first-hand experience and journey in adoption. So he's come here today to share his life journey with us. Stay with us. Welcome back again. For those of you that are just joining us, November is set aside to raise awareness about the urgent need for adoptive families for children and youth in foster care. And tomorrow, November 9th, we'll be celebrating the World Adoption Day as well. Today, we wanted to be in conversation about what that means for our community and take some time to discuss the importance of adoption, ways in which we can support families, friends, and neighbors that may have adopted children as well. Our guest for today is Esubalew. He himself is an adoptee and is a friend. Welcome, Esubalew, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm definitely excited to be here.
Thank you. And I know that this may not necessarily be your favorite thing because we see you and you do not, and I understand that's not the most comfortable space for you to be in. So I really appreciate you being here with us.
No, it's fine. I mean, it just feels like somebody's staring at you and you don't know where they're coming from. So, but it's all good.
Thank you. So let's jump in. Let's start from where you were born, and if you could tell us that story as well.
Yeah, I was born in Nesa Gorgis Gojam. It's during that time, as most Habesha would know, or most people would know, it's like where I lived is in the countryside, basically. Grass house, no electricity, well water. Sleep in the same room as the chickens. And so, that's kind of where I grew up. And well, not grew up, but that's where I was born for and was raised for like the first 6 years or so. So, yeah.
Did you attend school during that time, or were you just around the house mostly?
So, as a kid, as soon as you learn to walk, especially in the countryside, you get to do chores. So if you're a boy, you get to kind of watch cattle, and if you're a girl, you go get water and wood for fire. And so I was a shepherd boy, and so basically at that time, my pops, I don't know where he went. I think he went to war or something like that, and so he never came back. And I was the boy in the family, and I had a sister. And so as a payment, as a job, I watched cattle for neighboring people, and as a payment, they gave us a huge jug of milk. And so that's how I was contributing to my our household. And yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I was just saying, and that was that, and I mean, it was a lot of fun. You see a lot of beautiful sceneries. You kicking it with the baboons and any other animals. And at that time, I was scared, but I didn't know they're vegetarians. But I just sat there and let them eat all the wheat because my uncle would tell me, hey, throw rocks at them, they run. But when I don't know what they call them, but the king of the group looks at you and he's like, no, go ahead, you guys do what you got to do. Leave me in peace. I'll leave you guys in peace. And so that's kind of the memories that I had. And then obviously things changed when I was about 5 or 6 years old. My sister and I were playing outside, kind of like what they call it here, like house, I guess. Like I know what the right terminology is basically, but we were playing with I made me a clay, goes during the rainy season. I made me a clay cattle basically and sheeps and all that stuff. So we're kind of playing outside, and then that's when things change. So I'll let you ask the next question if you need to.
No, please go ahead and tell us what happened after.
Yeah. So basically, 2 guys from Adebabay came to the countryside, and were talking to my sister and I, saying, "Hey, which one of you guys are the oldest?" And obviously, my mom was in the grass house making wet Ethiopian food, and she didn't recognize the voice, so she came out like, "Oh, who are you guys?" And the guy said, "We're some guys helping kids in the countryside go to school in the capital city, Addis Ababa. And so we're here to help you out. Which kid is your oldest?" And my mom said, Esubalew. And obviously my mom, when, they told her I'm going to go to school, and they told her that they'll bring me back every month, every holiday, which seems like every month in Ethiopia there's some sort of holiday. And so my mom didn't think anything of it. And so she wanted the best for me. She didn't want me to become a farmer and then, have a soccer team as a children, have a whole bunch of kids and have a soccer team. I'm now a lot of kids and, kind of follow the tradition, what would happen in the countryside. So it was my sister, my mom, and my grandma. My sister protested, but my mom's like, "No, he'll be back every month. You'll get to see him often." So they put me on the donkey. Took like, I don't know, probably 6-7 hours on a donkey transportation because they take their sweet time. And we went from Inesa Gorgis to Mert Olamariam. And from there, we spent a night in the hotel. And then the next day, we woke up early, hopped on a bus, and they took about 12 hours to get to Addis Ababa. And when we got to Addis Ababa, we switched to a taxi, and then the taxi dropped us off like in a wooded area. And obviously, at that time, I didn't, I'm a farmer boy, so I don't think anything of it. And so we get there, and I stayed in the separate grass house in Addis Ababa in the wooded area. And after 3-4 days later, they said that, you need to get ready for school. School's going to start soon. And so when we got there was other 2 guys waiting for us. I would say probably mid-20s or whatever. And so all 4 guys were in my grass house I was staying at, and I was getting my cowhide mat ready to sleep on. And then that's when they kind of advanced on me, and one had me by my legs, one sat on me, one held my arms flat on the ground, and then the 4th one put some chemical, some cactus, it's called kulkwal. Yeah, they put a white liquid in my eye, and they put other stuff in there. But I screamed and yelled, but the only thing that could hear me was the hyenas. So they weren't going to try to help me. They'd probably rather eat me. So it took about 3 or 4 days, and they hired some teenagers to guide me around the city. And they said, whatever I make from begging, they'll split it up. And that's kind of how the life in Addis Ababa began.
So just curious, did you make any kind of cut from the money you collected begging, or how did that whole thing work out?
No, never. They never fed me. They never gave me any of the money that I made. I actually got beaten by, I think it's called sama. It's like a plant, when it touches, like they hit you with it, it burns your skin. So I actually got beaten for not making enough. And most of the time, I mean, I didn't have energy. The only way I had energy was people that were selling bananas, oranges, or bread, or whatever it may be. They said, I don't have money, but we can, give you burtukan or dabo or mousse or those kind of things. That's the only way I ate. Other than that, I didn't have energy. A lot of times, the teenager guides would have me hold on to the bigger bus that has handle outside it until somebody threw change out. Well, it's kind of dragging me a little bit. I mean, obviously the high guard bus didn't move that fast when it's that crowded, but still, it made me hold on to it until somebody threw out like 10 cents or whatever it may be. So, yeah.
Wow. Wow. So how long does that went on?
It seemed to me about a year and a half or two, and I felt like that life was going to be like that. It was never going to change until one day I was in a coffee shop begging, and the wife could see and the husband's blind, and she must have told him that, there's a little scrawny blind guy coming in, and they gave me 10 cents, and they told us, me and my guides, to come back tomorrow, same place, that way we can have lunch and they can talk. And my guide said, oh yeah, no problem, we can do that. And we go back that night, and my guides tell the people that blinded me to, these couple want to meet us tomorrow for lunch. What do you guys think about that idea? And the people that blinded me say, hell no, do not go back that route. That's too suspicious. And obviously the teenagers that were guiding me didn't go back that route. But in Ethiopian public transportation, that's everybody piles into one big bus. If that one's fully, go to the next one. So the next day after I'm done begging, we hop on the bus to go back to where we're staying. At the first stop, the door opens, and the couple that we're supposed to meet for lunch hop on, and they're like, oh my gosh, we were in for you guys for all day. Where were you guys? And my guide said, oh my gosh, we forgot, I'm so sorry. Maybe we can reschedule. And the couple that we were supposed to meet at the coffee shop said, no, it's okay. You guys can get off when we get off, and then we can discuss. So we get off, and the husband pulls out $1 or Ethiopian dollar, Adebabay. He said, here's $1 for a taxi for his parents. We would like to talk to them. Back in the day, taxi was very cheap. And my guide said, no, he doesn't have any parents. That's why we're trying to help him beg in the street. And so then the couple said, in that case, we'll take him in, and he can learn Braille and go to school and try to make something of his life. And they played tug of war with me for a little bit, and then the blind school had guards, and you just have to flush your gun, and they ran away, and they brought me in. I still had no clue what's going on, but they told me that I'm going to stay with them, and then I'm going to learn Braille, which obviously at that time I had no idea what it was. And I was at the Sidiskilo, I think it was like near Sidiskilo, the blind school. I was there for a week, and they took me to a different area. It's like in the countryside. We took a little small car, and there were like probably 15 to 20 blind people there. And I was there for about 3 to 6 months. And then I got sick. So they brought me back to the city, and I think they put me in the Sidiskilo hospital. And it's crazy because that hospital was full. And I guess one family came and got their kid, and there was one spot for me, so they put me in there. And I was in the hospital for 3 months. I don't know if I said, but I had tuberculosis. And while I was in there, I didn't know at that time that the food that I was eating was from the nurses and the doctors. I assumed it was like in America where, you get the hospital provides the food.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I didn't find about it until when I went back for the first time. And I wish I could individually, sorry, I'm going off track, but I wish I could individually thank those Habesha doctors and nurses. Because I was a spoiled brat. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't, they'd be like, oh, there's Gomen. I'm like, no, I want Dorowet. There's Dorowet. No, I want whatever, Unkulale, But, and here I am, I'm a poor, sick child, not being picky about my food, and I came from the street. I don't know. It was interesting. I just wish that I could tell those people thank you, because I don't know if they're still alive or not, but much love to those people. But back to the story. So when I was in the hospital, a lady came in from the US, so that kid that left, to give me a room in the hospital. She was trying to find him a family in the US, but like I said, his family came and got him. And so then, which made room for me. So thank you to that person, and his family. And so when she came in, she's like, oh, where's that kid? And the doctors told her, his family came and got him. I don't know where he went, but we got this blind guy. You should hear his story. And she heard my story and she said, I'm sorry. I will find you a family in America, which again, being a farmer boy, I had no idea what that meant. I thought it was like America was another small town in Ethiopia I never heard of. And so I didn't think anything of it. And then she came back like a week later and brought me like a toy car from the US. And man, I thought that was like an Xbox or a PS4. I was just like, wow, I'm used to making toys out of rocks and mud. And here it is, like a sweet little toy car. And so after in the hospital for 3 months, I get out and I go to the orphanage. And let me know if I'm like, I know you have questions. So
You're perfect. Please
okay.
go ahead.
Okay. So I go to orphanage and I see a lot of kids just go and never come back. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And these people be coming from like the UK, Canada, Austria, and they be bringing amazing chocolate. I'm like, what? That's not seriously. It was amazing chocolate. Like I come here and get the Walmart chocolate. I'm like, this is not what I remember. But
You got gypped.
yeah, that's what I felt like. And I had a few close friends and they left before I did. And I know they went to Canada. So if anybody's watching this in Canada, all my adoptees in Canada, much love for sure. But like I wasn't sure what was going on. And finally I got a letter. It was like after being 6 months in the orphanage, I got a letter saying that she found me a family and they already adopted 10 kids. And so, in sports term, obviously I didn't put it at that time, but now I think of it as first round, 11th pick, the Johnston select Esubalew, Toruna at that time, but now I'm at Johnston. And again, I didn't think anything of it. My parents did adopt an Ethiopian girl before me. And so they told me about that in the letter, which I still didn't understand. But anyway, so we get out of the orphanage. There was 9 of us that were coming to the US and we go to a foster home. We were there like a couple months and, like it was like an upgrade from the orphanage to the foster home. You get pasta, you get, just fancy meals. And we're like, ooh, okay, whatever, this is this is the dream, I guess, and then we hop on the plane. So like we all get together and they have a huge party for us and we get in a huge bus and we drive to the airport, which at that time I had no idea what it was, but we go up a flight of stairs, get in the plane, which I had no idea what that was. And then it starts taking off. And I was like, well, I guess they've been preparing us for slaughter because the turbulence. I thought we were gonna die. I thought that was the end of it. And my thought changed when obviously we've flown for a while and they're going around giving out food, and they gave me a big old slice of cake and a 2-liter of Coke. I was like, oh, okay, this America place must be great, And I was excited just because, I mean, you know, food was amazing, obviously, and then we had a, you know, cultural moment. I had to go to the restroom, and obviously, being a guy in, you know, in Ethiopia, a lot of the guys just, you know, whatever, we find a spot and just mark our territory. So a lady by the name of Susan was the one that was bringing 9 of us to our families in the U.S. And so I said, Susan, Shintabit, which means, obviously, how much I would know what that means, but for non-Amharic speakers, it means bathroom. And so Susan gets the stewardess and she takes me into the bathroom, puts me in there and shuts the door. And obviously I had to go bad, obviously, after drinking the 2 liter of Coke. And I think if I could have seen, maybe I would have seen, you know, there probably pee marks in the toilet, but obviously I couldn't see. So I kind of had to go to the bathroom right there on the floor. And I come out and Susan's like, how's everything? I'm like, oh, everything's good. And so we go from Ethiopia to Germany to Chicago. Chicago, that's when a lot of the kids' families were waiting for them. And they went their separate ways. And then I went from Chicago to St. Louis. And then my parents were there with my 10 brothers and sisters. And again, I had no idea what's going on. I just felt like, I don't know, it was just like another part of the life, I guess. I don't know. I just remember like they gave me hugs, and obviously I'm sure they said hi, but I didn't understand. So we hop in that time they had an 18 passenger van. We go in there and they give me banana bread. I was like, oh, this is good too. And the lady that found me a family was there, and we get to our house and she's explaining to my parents, you know, when Esubalew says Shintabit, that means toilet. And obviously we had to go to the bathroom again. And my dad's like, oh, I'll take him. So he puts me in the bathroom, shuts the door behind me, and leaves me there. I was like, oh, maybe this is the way they do it in America. They just do it in a room. And so I urinate on the floor, and then my dad comes, gets me. He's like, oh, no. He grabs my hand. He's like, toilet. I'm like, what? Why are they making these difficult? So much easier just to mark your territory and, you know, on the floor versus trying to aim. But, that's kind of how it began, you know. It's been a crazy journey, and grew up in Missouri. Started in 3rd grade, and went through all the way through high school. Graduated, and then that was the end of the Missouri history there.
I like to remind our viewers, thank you for joining us, and please subscribe and share and like this so everyone could hear this, and also that he could find some of his friends in Canada and some of the doctors in Ethiopia as well, which would be really awesome so they could see this. Sure. So I actually have a question for you, maybe a couple. Mm-hmm. When you were in Ethiopia learning, you said you were in school for the blind for some time. Mm-hmm. Were you able to learn how to read Amarinya, and can you still read it?
Yeah, I definitely learned. I mean, the teacher was hardcore there. Doesn't matter if it's a sighted school or blind school, man. They're pretty abusive. So I did know Amarinya Braille, but I forgot it when I came to the U.S., obviously, just because Braille is the same in every language. Well, the dots are this, meaning it uses 6 dots. And so you use those 6 dots for every language, but obviously the way you write is different. And so I definitely forgot it when I learned English Braille. I'm trying to relearn it because I think it's important. I want to do a lot of things as far as giving back to the Ethiopian community. I'm currently part of a nonprofit called Door of Hope, Ethio Ministry for the Blind. Kind of trying to give back, but obviously there's so much need there. It's kind of hard to know where to start. But so yeah, I forgot it, unfortunately, to answer your question.
Okay, we'll come back to your volunteer work as well. So how was growing up in Missouri? What was like the fun part of it? So what were some of the hard part of it? and how was learning English and the culture shock and such, because you did move pretty quick from, by the time you were 5 to 6 until about 10,
Yeah.
through a lot of different kinds of life experiences. So how was moving to America and having that kind of stability?
Yeah, it was definitely hard, especially I would say the first 5 years were really hard just because, again, the language barrier, and obviously it took me a while to get used to the sleeping pattern. So my parents, everybody go to sleep, I'm awake and kind of like tossing and turning, like, this is like, where am I? Like, what is this? It was hard. Learning English was hard because obviously it's hard. I mean, I was lucky that I learned it within the year just because I was young, but the terminology and one word means that and means two different things. So that part was hard. I mean, they had me a translator by the name of Nados. Shout out to Nados. She was, I think, the only Habesha person in Missouri that I knew. And we fell apart because I didn't like her injera. And I didn't mean, like, obviously, again, I think I was just a spoiled brat. But, she was trying to be thoughtful. And I was just like, no, this is not injera. This is like kita, But anyway, so that growing up there it was rough, for sure. I just, some of the things I remember, again, I mean, people touching my hair, I was confused because, first of all, I thought we're all the same color, honestly. So there'll be another story there. And touching my hair, like, I wasn't sure why. Like, don't they have their own hair? And then I feel their hair and it's straight. I'm like, what? What's going on? How'd you guys get that kind of hair? And so it kind of like, it didn't make sense to me why, theirs was straight and smooth and mine was, I call it jungle hair. But again, I had rough times, because I mean, I had another pee incident because they had those stupid urinals that were against the wall, but they're on the floor. So as a blind person, when you hear a whole bunch of kids peeing against the wall, they think they're just peeing on the floor. I had no idea they were pointing at a urinal. And then just shout out to my third grade teacher. Even though I didn't understand a word of English, she had every classmate read me a book. I fell asleep, but they kept reading. And then to entertain me, she was so sweet. Shout out to Miss Fountain. I had, when we left Ethiopia, they gave us a print book, which I don't know what good it does for me. And they gave us 2 cassettes and drum and mezcal. And so I would take that drum with me, and she's like, "Oh, Ethan, come play the Ethiopian drum and dance for us." And obviously me being, and I mean, I guess I wouldn't say idiot. I was just, I don't know. I would have done it if I was now versus then. But anyway, I was like out in front of the classroom, just hitting the drum and doing skista. But, she did whatever she could to keep me involved with the class. And then as far as the school, I mean, I think the teachers did what they could. And I really respect that. And I still stay in touch with some of the teachers that I had in high school. The good parts, I don't know. Honestly, I guess the good part is I learned how to play basketball. I have 2 best friends that are left that I went to school with. And my best friend Drake, he taught me to play basketball in 5th grade. And one thing I respect about him, he didn't treat me like I was a blind person. He just treated me like one of anybody else. And so, if I was driving to the hoop, he would block my shot, and people are like, "Oh my God, how could you block a blind person?" And he's like, "If he wants to learn basketball, I'm going to teach him the right way." That meant a lot to me, honestly. And so, so I guess I would say the good part is the good teachers that I had. even though school is hard for me, and the true friendship that I still have that I went to school with.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So let me ask. I know you are a huge fan of basketball. So for those of you that don't know, I don't think I have mentioned this. Me and Esubalew went to the same school. And I remember we used to hang out and you say, all right, time to go play basketball. I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't see. How could you, like, how does a blind person play basketball? And I never really understood that until I met you. Or you used to run track and field in high school. So could you tell our viewers how exactly does that work? And how do we need to understand and adjust, I guess, our view of disability as well along that line?
All right. So far as track and field, yeah, I'm going to hit all those 3 points. Track and field, honestly, like in PE, they make you run that mile. And that's all I did. I never joined track and field. I know that the New York Post said that, but we'll come back to that. And then I played soccer from 4th grade all the way to 8th grade. And I always played defense. And our goalies or my brother, like I was always, so having a lot of brothers and sisters, we'll get to that too. We're always like on the same team, so they knew how to communicate with me. So I always played defense, so right fullback or left fullback, and so they'd be like, "Oh, Ethan, ball on the right." And so I had 14 eye surgeries, and so I could see light and color.
Okay.
And in that club games, well, they always played it early in the morning, like 8 o'clock, so the sun's out, and I could see the white ball in the green grass. And so if the goalie or my brothers or sister communicated ball on the right, if I see that white ball, I'm going to take the ball and launch it back to the other side. And honestly, like, I wasn't bad. They were trying to have me try out for the high school soccer team. And I was like, no, because I could just see myself making a fool of myself going to a different high school and thinking I kicked the ball to the other side of the field and kicking it out into the stands. And I'd be celebrating. They'd be like, "Where's that guy, blind?" And they wouldn't know, obviously, because they see me out there. So I instead of just sat on the bench, kind of rooted up for my team. But so as far as basketball goes, I can see, like I said, light and color. And so I play outside, or if I play inside, I have to measure the distance kind of thing. Like I have to get the vibe on how far away I am. But if it's outside, I see the white backboard. That's all I need to see. And if it's a sunny day and the sun's hitting the white backboard, and if I can't make a shot and I can't score, and I just suck that day. But I'm very confident in my game. I always called myself the blind version of Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. And Gigi and those people that passed away in the helicopter accident. But that's how it started. And shout out to my eye doctor. Having 14 cornea transplants, if it wasn't for that, obviously I couldn't be able to play basketball well as I do. And as far as track and field, I mean, that's the beauty of Colorado. I was a sophomore in college in Boulder, and I went to a disability sports get-together. And a lady, kind of came to me. She's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" I'm good. How you doing? Where are you from? Like, Missouri. But originally I'm from Ethiopia. And of course, the damn stereotype. "Oh, you must love to run." I'm like, "No, I hate running." It's like, "Oh, you got to try it." Because with tether, that's when I run, I use a tether. So it's like a little rope that a sighted guide would hold on to one end. I would hold on to the other end. And basically they're being my eyes on the track field or on the race. So one day she took me out and we ran, and I enjoyed it because, like, before, for running on the track in high school, I try to follow those stupid white lines. And one time they were fixing the soccer field in the middle of the track was around the soccer field, and they had a wheelbarrow full of dirt in my way. I didn't see it. I hit that thing and flipped over, and I kept going because I'm very competitive. And luckily I didn't get hurt, but everybody's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." But so I had excitement knowing that I had somebody to guide me, and I don't have to worry about things being in my way. And my first race was a 5K, and my problem is I can't pace myself. So I ran out too hard, but I did good. And then she's like, "Oh, let's have you try out for track." And I did my first meet in Boulder it's like a Paralympic triat type of thing, and I kept dragging all my guides, and she's like, "All right." She sent my times to the Paralympic committee, and they invited me to the Olympic Center in San Diego, and had an opportunity to try out for the Paralympic team. But obviously, got my current career, and I said, "Yeah, trying to win gold medals is not going to help my family back home. I gotta stick to the everyday job," and obviously didn't follow through the track dream. Did I answer all your questions? I don't even know. I feel like
Yes,
I'm just
sir. I think maybe before we jump on to, your college career, could you tell us a bit about your family? You said you were the 11th adopted child of your family.
Yeah.
So that's a big group of adopted kids with different backgrounds. How did that work?
So my parents actually adopted 21 of us from all over the world.
Wow.
And so they had 25 total. And
at the same time or in different times?
Different times.
Okay.
But at once there was like 18 of us in the house. And so I had, I believe, 19 sisters and 5 brothers. Might have been 18 sisters and 6 brothers. I don't even know. But so it was definitely, that part was crazy. I think because my parents have 2 kids each from a different marriage, and then they have 1 biological child together. And so I definitely feel bad for the biological daughter, because she brought in 21 different people from different parts of the world, and like, what the hell's going on? Like, why are they here? But she handled it very well. I guess that's what I would say the highlight of Missouri would be, is just having those brothers and sisters from all over the world with different backgrounds, and a lot of there's probably like 6 or 7 of us that have a disability. I have a sister that doesn't have legs or arms. I have 2 sisters that have 1 leg that's amputated from the knee below. I have another sister who had scoliosis, and she's in a wheelchair. And then I have a brother who has I don't even know if I should know the terminology. He has a deformed arm, so it's like it's from the shoulder to the elbow. That's how long his arms are. But so we all have our own different backgrounds, but we somehow got along. And so I would say that's the highlight of Missouri. And I'm still close with some of them. But it was a lot of fun during Christmas, Thanksgiving. It'd be a lot of noise, and you hear a lot of times my mom say, "Be quiet, I can't hear the person next to me," because it gets rowdy. So imagine we all had kids and show up, for a family reunion, or
oh
my gosh,
small country.
Yeah, seriously.
So you guys played a lot of team sports and such. I think you alluded to it earlier a bit.
Yeah, and then we had 10 acres, so our family always had enough for every sport. So we played soccer, we played football, we played baseball, played basketball. That's just, at our house. But a lot of my brothers and sisters would play, for the school. And they always like, "Oh, those dang Johnstons, they did it again," Or we show up, we have to go to church, or we show up to the school, and then be our 18-passenger van. "Oh, there are those Johnstons." We just pile out of the car. So those, I guess, kind of like the highlights of the Missouri in a way.
That's pretty awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
If you are just joining us, we're having a conversation with Esubalew Johnston about adoption, really, and what that means to him, and how we can learn from his experiences as well. Please go ahead and share, subscribe, and join in this conversation. Esubalew, if I could take you to Colorado. So what was your first introduction of sort to Colorado, and how did you end up in Boulder?
Yeah, so there was when I was learning Braille back in the middle school and high school days, there was this girl. One summer, she went to Colorado to go to the Colorado Center for the Blind, and she said, "There's a whole bunch of blind people." I'm like, because before I went there, I knew her and a few other people where we got together to learn Braille and kind of do work, schoolwork. And she told me she went to the center and you get to learn rock climbing and go whitewater rafting, skiing, camping. And I was like, whoa, as a blind person? And skiing, I don't know if I mentioned that. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, that sounds really fun. And so that following year, I was a junior in high school. And of course, I got to fight it with my parents. Technically, my mom and her biological daughter, not from a previous marriage. And there's always said, if you don't like it, get out. Obviously, as a blind person living in a small town, no public transportation, where are you going to go? Into the woods, I guess. And so I applied to go to the Colorado Center for the Blind. And so basically what that school does is trains blind people to become independent. So there's a computer class, home management class, woodshop class, and cane travel. And public transportation, how do you use UK crossing streets as a blind person and, go grocery shopping on your own without relying so much on sighted help. And at that time, for me, just knowing what goes on back home in Ethiopia, I didn't think blind people could do what they do now. And so I got in a fight with my parents. And so I signed up. I didn't even really tell them, but the state of Missouri paid for me to come to the center. And so I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I'm going to Colorado. She's like, what? Like, yep, I'm going to this training center. And so I went, and like I said, there was a whole bunch of blind people. I'm like, where you guys been all my life? Because I kind of felt, you get made fun of and all that stuff. So I kind of felt like an outcast in a way. So when I went to the center, seeing that these blind people, just cooking and living on their own. And so basically they give you like a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate and you. And you go to the class Monday through Friday, but Saturday and Sunday, it's your day off and you get to do your own thing. So, you got to cook and clean yourself and all that. And so I did that for summer program. And then I liked it so much, I graduated high school and then came back again for the adult program, and which was 6 to 9 months program. And I was like, I really like Colorado. And I applied to CU Boulder and I got accepted. And of course my parents were like, you don't want to go there. It's a liberal school and all the professors do is smoke pot and you're never going to learn anything. I'm like, I don't care. As long as they teach me what I need to learn, I don't care what they do.
Yeah.
And I went. And I actually took a year off. I graduated in 2006 and I took a year off to get in-state residency. And then I started CU Boulder in 2007. And definitely one of the best decisions I made so far, I would say, moving to Colorado.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Esu. We'll continue this conversation after a quick break. And if you are just joining us, we are having a conversation with Esubalew. Please help us like, share, and subscribe to our channel as well. And we'll be right back.
አደባባይ ሚዲያ ለወገንተኝነት ጀርባውን የሰጠ ጊዜያዊ ጥቅምን አምቢኝ ብሎ የዘመመን ሊያቀና እውነትና እውቀትን አስከትሎ ኢኮኖሚያዊና መንፈሳዊ መረጃዎችን እንካችሁ ይላል። ትኩስ ዜናዎች፣ ዘጋቢ ፊልሞች፣ ጥልቅ ትንታኔዎች በአደባባይ ሚዲያ ይቀርባሉ። ራእያችን ጊዜውን ያማከለና ዘመኑን የዋጀ በእውነት የነጠሩ መረጃዎችን በእውቀት ደግፎ ለሀገራችን ብሎ ለዓለም ሕዝብ ማዳረስ ነው። አድሬሳችን አደባባይ ኢንፎ ሚዲያ @gmail.com፣ ዌብሳይታችን www.adebabai.com። ያግኙን፣ ይርዱን። የሁላችንም ስለሆነች ኢትዮጵያ በአደባባይ እንዘግባለን። አደባባይ ሚዲያ
Welcome back, everyone. So I think you're scooching to the other side a bit. So if you could turn, I think there you go. The other side, sorry.
This one?
This. Perfect. Okay, so University of Colorado, Boulder.
Yeah.
So we know now how you ended up in Colorado. So how was your college experience like?
It was incredible. I mean, Boulder is obviously known as the top 5 party schools. So
You party?
I mean, I did not in I did it to where I always knew myself. Obviously, it was scary. Obviously, being sheltered growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and my parents you touch a drop of alcohol, we'll skin you like a goat, whatever it may be. So I was scared. But Boulder being Boulder, I lived at Willville, and I remember when the Boulder bus going to campus for a concert, the first week before classes started. And, people are passing around bottles of drinks. I'm like, oh my God. What would my mom think if she saw this happening? But I always knew my limit, and I know I'm already down one sense. I can't see, so I can't put myself in a bad situation where I don't know what's going on. So I always knew my limit. But again, I think that's when I realized, I think I had an identity crisis, I would say, just because I was Ethan for sure. Because I didn't care about anything else. I mean, I know I went to my classes and whatever, but far as, where I was from or who I was, I just thought I was Ethan. So I partied when it was party, but I think I always knew that in my mind I was going to go back to Ethiopia and trying to find my family. And so, but I didn't think it was at that time. My thought process was to have fun, finish school, hopefully get a good job, and then, from there go look for my mom and my sister.
So when you were in Ethiopia or when you were going through high school and all that, you didn't know where your parents were. So you never had any contact with them and such?
I always knew where I was from, and I never forgot my mom's name or my sister's name. But the Ethiopian government's like, we don't know where that is. Just put them in the orphanage.
Okay.
And so I think for me, I know it's Ethiopia, being Ethiopian and trying to go back home. It's always in the back of my mind. But, during the college years, I wasn't worried about that because I needed a career first. I was doing it step by step. And I didn't during college, like I was saying, I was having identity crisis because that began when I ran into my Ethiopian friends. I remember meeting a couple of my friends in the dorm room. We're having injera together, and shout out to Samira. I'll never forget that moment.
Forever, she was forever feeding us.
Yeah, such a sweet person. And it was my friend Kalab and I think it was Shuaga, but somebody brought injera, and so we're in the dorm room eating, and I was kind of nervous because everybody's speaking Amharic. I'm like, what? And I don't know, I felt uncomfortable. Kind of like, some people have 6 fingers. I felt like that 6th finger, I didn't belong, honestly. But they still showed me love. They didn't care. And so that's when I was like, oh, do I say Ethan or Esubalew? And so the whole college life, I mean, it was good just because that's when all my real friends in Colorado began. And that's when I realized that I was Ethiopian, and no matter what, and I have to still embrace my Not Ethiopianism, but whatever, Ethiopianness, and
Yeah.
also at the same time, being Ethiopian American.
Mm. So how does that process look like to you? Because I know when I met you as Ethan, and I could kind of see the transition of that from outside. But how was that for you in the inside? What was going on? What helped in solidifying kind of who you are as a person first, and then of course as Ethiopian and Ethiopian American? What were some of the
Honestly,
things that
yeah,
helped me?
yeah. Honestly, is I would say the love of I call them the crew, just the Boulder crew in general. I mean, um, I don't know. This it's making me emotional. Honestly, think about it, but that's just the love that I like. I just saw, like, I watched. Even though if I don't say much, I'm very observant. I'm like, I'm listening um, to what's going on, but like just the love that they show each other. Everything they do is together. We used to get like 6 to 10 people to go to Nile, drive, an hour away to go to Nile, and then stay there till it closes, and just sitting there eating together, laughing, joking, and I think that's where it began. I'm like, this is what it means to be Ethiopian. Um, and I always tell, when I tell my story to Americans, I guess I should say, is like, there's nothing like Ethiopian culture. I know you guys see the negative media and what's going on, but if there's 10 people in the room and one little crumb of bread, everybody's going to get a piece of that crumb of bread. When you're here, it's like, oh no, andugushano. And that's it. And that's kind of when I saw, how they shared everything. Um, that's kind of the involvement happened, honestly, just like hanging out with them and going to events. And of course, obviously, I met you, and we would go have lunch every Friday. You pick me up in I don't even remember what kind of car you had, but you picked me up. We chatted up a couple hours on Fridays, and that meant a lot. It's just kind of like and then of course I met some older Habesha people that live in Boulder, and they took me under their wings. And every time there was, a holiday, I'll go to their house, and I feel like they didn't see my disability, they didn't see my netchness or Ethanness or Americanness or whatever it may be. They just, I don't know, they took me under their wings. So I think the involvement happened when I got to connect and be accepted in the Habesha community. Because before that, like I said, I think I had identity crisis, and I was on the Ethan side. And even when I came to Colorado, I changed my name to Esubalew instead of Ethan. Do my parents like that? No, but it's like, no. I give them Johnston, they should be happy, but it is what it is.
Half and half.
Yeah, meet me halfway.
So you went to find your parents while you were in college.
Yeah.
Could you tell us how that came about and what the process looked like for you?
Yeah. So spring of freshman year, me and this girl named Wabit, we were homies in the orphanage. And we would talk, like, started out being like every month on the phone after we came to the US, and then became like every 6 months. And then her mom would write me and our family a letter saying, oh, everything's going well, blah, 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 blah. And obviously when I moved to Colorado, obviously, I could be able to travel. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to come visit you guys. And so they live in Oregon. And so I went, and obviously they didn't know how to, Wabit hasn't seen me, I think, at least like 11 years since we've been in the US. And so it was kind of awkward at first, but everybody adjusted very well. And I was talking to her mom, and her mom was like, yeah, I don't know all your story. Can you tell me? And I was telling her, I thought she was taking it for her own information, just to know the story. But she was writing it down. She wrote, she took the stuff she wrote down and sent it to her friend in Addis Ababa. And that friend, obviously, like I said before, I never forgot where my hood was. And so the lady kept going from, she started in Mota, and then she talked to the police station there, and they said, oh, we don't know, maybe you can try here. And then she went there, and then basically she went from police station, and eventually she got to Mariam, and then there the police and then said, oh yeah, some lady came and reported her child missing a long time ago. We can take you to her village. And they took her there. She took photos and sent it to Wibby's mom in Oregon. And then I went to visit him that summer. And then when I came back to Colorado, she's like, oh, I got a surprise for you. And she knows I'm a huge Lakers fan. And so I'm like, what? Is it a Kobe jersey, Kobe shoe? She's like, oh, it's brown and it fits in a shoebox. I had no idea what that meant. And so her and her best friend had like some sort of nonprofit project she had to do in Denver. And they came, and I met him at a restaurant. And so she's like, here, I got something for you. She gives it to me. And I was like, what is it? She's like, it's a picture. I'm like, a picture of what? And she's like, your mom. I'm thinking it's my Farange mom, American mom. And I was like, well, if I miss her, I can call her and ask her to send me a picture. Why would you personally give me a picture? She's like, no, it's your Ethiopian mom. And obviously, I know she has a nonprofit. Her and her best friend have a nonprofit in Gondar, helping kids that don't have a mama or dad go to school or start their own business so they can survive. But I know she'd never been to Gujam. And so I was like, how is this possible? And so she told me what she did. And again, I was kind of doubtful just because, like, if I was in a situation saying, oh, are you missing a kid who lives in America? I'm like, yep, I'm missing. That's my kid, just because they think in America, money grows on trees, And so I was doubtful. And my friend Wibby's mom, she's like, yeah, so we're going to go to Ethiopia. We're going to fundraise and we're going to go to Ethiopia. And I was like, at that time, I didn't have a job and I was on government assistance. Shout out to American government. And I didn't have money, but she's like, no, it's all good. We'll fundraise. And so this was like fall of 2008. It was like October 17th, actually. That's when we met up, and she told me that she found my mom. And so I showed picture to my friends, like, you guys don't look alike. Are you sure that's your mom? So I'm like, I don't know. She says she's my mom, so we'll find out. But so June 14th, 2009, I went to visit my dad, because my parents were in the process of moving from Missouri to Oregon. So my dad's already in Oregon, and I went to visit them and, kind of chatted up with him for a little bit. And then from Oregon, we went to DC to straight to Ethiopia. And this is how you know that I forgot a lot as far as Ethiopia. So we get there and there's no power. I was pissed. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you have airline, service, and you have no power, and you have to fill out everything by hand. Oh, I lost it. I was like, this is not happening. And so at that time, my friend's mom took 2 of her kids to Ethiopia. She adopted 5 Ethiopian kids and 1 kid from India. So, and then of course, like I said earlier, she has a nonprofit in Gondar. And so one of her kids, she was kind of fresh from Ethiopia. She was in the US at that time, only 4 years. So she was translating for us. And this old cranky, blank Habesha guy, he's like, oh, he didn't speak Amharic? And my friend's daughter's like, no. Oh, why not? Well, and then so he starts talking to me in English. I'm like, well, I'm originally adopted, and there's no Habesha people to talk to, so I forgot it. Oh, my son's been in America for 32 years. He speaks Amharic. I'm like, yeah, you live with him, don't you? Don't you guys speak Amharic? I was pissed. Like, I wasn't going to have that. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh, dang, it's going to be rough. But anyway, so we get through the airport, and then the lady that ran the foster home before we came to the U.S. was there waiting for us, holding flowers, and she was crying and kissing us on the cheek a million times, which I forgot about that part of the culture too. And it still didn't kick in, honestly. It didn't kick in. I just felt like it was a dream, a long dream that wouldn't be over. And we get in a taxi, and we're going through Adebabay, and we stopped in the middle of traffic, and this blind guy comes and begs at our taxi. And I'm like, it's just like time froze, and I couldn't believe this was happening. Like, I could not believe that was me back in the day. And I gave him like 100 birr, and I was just like, sorry, bro. I know what you're going through. And we like started having conversation, and he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I used to be in your shoes. He's like, oh, where are you now? I was like, in America. He's like, how did you get there? I'm like, I got lucky and I got adopted. He didn't believe me. He felt like I was lying to him. Like, no, it's not, I'm telling you the truth. But obviously we had to go. And so that's when it kind of like things got heavy. And then obviously when we got to my friend's mom's friend's house, and I was asking questions about my family, like what my mom said. And then she told me that my sister, Banshiguze, she passed away at age 13 of tuberculosis. That's when I just started bawling, just like the rainy season in Ethiopia. I'm sure you know what that is like. And just cut it loose, and felt good to cry it out. And I just feel bad. Like, she saw me leave, but she never got to see me come back. And she always called me Kindiye. And I don't know. And again, she had tuberculosis, so did I, but I was in the city where I got treated for it. She had to suffer and die. So I guess that's kind of like the hardest part for me still. And I feel like she's like an angel on my shoulder, always guiding me, because there's a lot of good things that have happened. And, but anyway, sorry. So we stayed in Addis Ababa a couple of days because we had to retrieve we took a videographer with us. He wanted to do a documentary, which never fell through, but whatever. We had to go retrieve his camera because the government thought it was not legal, whatever it may be. So stayed in Addis Ababa for a couple of days. We go to Gondar, and then we go to Bahar Dar, from Bahar Dar to Marcos to Mota to Metolamarem. We'll get there. We had hired a translator, a driver. We had a whole bunch of luggage. And so in Metolamarem, we ran into the policeman who helped find my mom. And so he hops in, and we were crammed in there. And of course we buy, blankets. We also brought tents from the US just because we didn't want to, we figured it's easier for everybody. They don't have to lose their spot, and we didn't want to sleep on the floor. But so we're driving and through farmlands, obviously, and a lady carrying a huge jug of water on her back, she kind of waves the car down. She's like, what are you guys, soldiers? And they're like, no, we're bringing Itashu Bruhan's son Esubalew back home. She's like, huh? You Habesha people be like, huh? And they repeat what they said to her. She throws a jug of water on the ground, and then she runs around, almost breaks the door open because the door was locked, and then she starts kissing me a million times. Like, what is going on, translator? He's like, this is your cousin so-and-so. I'm like, what? Do you remember her? I'm like, nope. Obviously, the village can see what's happening. They're like, what's going on? What's going on? And then they get the word, and so they run down and tell my whole family. You hear from a distance, like Rumba and horn and drums playing and singing, and I felt like I was getting married. It was crazy. It was just overwhelming. And obviously, I felt muted because I couldn't say anything. At that time, I forgot Amharic, and I knew it was my mom, obviously, because she's a singer in the village for weddings, anything. So I never forgotten her voice, and she just said, "Yeah, yo, metahaling," and she's sobbing and singing, and everybody's pulling me that way, this way, and it was an emotional, exciting moment. And then obviously, Ella, aka Ethiopian beard, aka Ethiopian wine, aka Ethiopian whiskey. They slaughtered goats, sheep, chicken for me, and the party was on. It was incredible. I'll never forget that moment.
That's amazing. Wow, I don't know how to follow up the next question with this, but so obviously you're still in contact with them, and right, okay. So college has given you a lot of those identities back into your life, I guess, along with your family as well. How has life after college been? It's been some time since you graduated now.
Yeah.
And I heard you play baseball. So if you could tell us a little bit about that as well. And yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, life after college, I mean, it's been good. I got to go back home one more time, and that's where I kind of relearned the language. I went back and stayed in the countryside for 3 months, and definitely that helped me. They made fun of me, but obviously I got my message across, and that's when I realized I had to relearn Amharic, just because I mean, it's my mother tongue, and that's my culture, and I need to be part of it. So, and I think also part of who I am is definitely, like I said earlier, like the friends that I have now. I mean, we've been friends probably for 12 years, and I always tell them, I mean, they don't want to hear it, just because Habesha people, they don't want to take compliments or whatever. And he says, whatever. But I always tell them, they're like my wall. I'm like the ceiling they carry me. You know what I'm saying? Without the wall, there wouldn't be any ceiling. And so, because of them, I still participate in sports, and but yeah, and also Colorado made me who I am today. Honestly, I feel like Missouri kind of, I don't know, I would say beat me up emotionally, internally. But Colorado kind of made me who I am, just because I was able to reunite with a lot of Ethiopians, and then of course the friends that I have. And so also Colorado let me be participating in sports. So like I said earlier, I did a triathlon, I did 2 10Ks and 3 5Ks, and then of course I played blind baseball, and that again is part of being the Colorado Center for the Blind, and they have a lot of adaptive sports like skiing, rock climbing, and whitewater rafting, and all that. But then on top of that, I got to learn to play blind baseball and become one of the best athletes in the league. And one of my, probably say my favorite memories is like we had a tournament, like a huge tournament in Houston, and I played barefoot. And so they actually changed the rules, because they changed the rules from saying you have to wear shoes from now on, because of me playing in barefoot. And so because there was a team from Taiwan at that time, and that's how they remember me, like, oh, the guy with barefoot. I'm like, yeah. But and actually made great friends with the Taiwanese team. So it's awesome to be part of sports and athletics, just because a lot of people, I mean it, most of society thinks that just because you have a disability, you can't do anything. And I know we talked about it off air, as far as I think even the Habesha community, I hear it all the time wherever I'm walking on the bus, or you hear, oh, like, which means to non-Ethiopian people, that means like, oh, poor person, he had a tough life, type of thing. And I hate that, just because either we, where we have visually impairment or whatever it may be, that does not identify, make us who we are. We're more than what our disability shows. And it's not just Habesha people. I mean, general, like society in general has that stigma of just because you have a disability, you can't do anything. And so that always has driven me to become who I am and to, be where I'm at today for sure. It's just like, I like negativity. I love people doubting me. And so I don't even know if I answered your question. I know it was about baseball, but yeah, I mean, all that lets me be. Sports and music always been my medicine for sure. So playing blind baseball definitely helped me get stronger and be confident in my abilities for sure.
Just to highlight on this topic for our viewers, you are actually a defensive MVP of 2010 for the National Baseball Association. So that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And you're also a very avid hiker. I think that might be the Boulder effect. Correct me if I'm wrong, which is pretty awesome as well. But to go back, I guess, to the conversation we started now, what can we do better as society in our community specifically, but in general as well, to better understand a disability and knowing that that's just part of who a person is. That's not everything they are, and that's not something that they should be defined by. How can we do better?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's just mostly is just to ask questions. And no question is stupid, honestly, because I know people think, oh, this must be a stupid question, but I'm going to ask anyway. It's like, no, it's obviously you want to know, you want to be educated. It's not, if you want to be educated, it's not stupid. And so I would say just ask questions and don't assume. That's what I would say. And that's just with anyone, not just the Habesha community. I think I can get the Habesha community because obviously back home there's not many opportunities. So they see a lot of blind people or other people with disabilities begging. So I do understand the feeling, oh, a poor person, but the beauty of America is there's laws, and I know some agencies, companies, whatever it may be, they can find a way to avoid those laws. But I feel like if you're in America and you have a disability, or anybody, honestly, it doesn't matter if you have a disability or not, you could be what you want to become, honestly. I'm not trying to do the cliche nonsense, but it is the truth, honestly. I mean, you have to put effort. Obviously, you can't sit for it and let it come to you. I have my own quote, wanting it won't get it for you. You have to go get it. So, which means that, like I said earlier, you can't sit there and say, oh, money from the tree fall down, please. You have to make some sort of effort. And for me, I believe in that just because obviously, yes, I had blessings and opportunities for my adopted parents to give me a shot, because it's hard for a person with disabilities to be adopted, first of all, but like, my parents gave me a shot. I still call them mom and dad, even though, there's issues and conflicts or whatever. So I had some opportunities, but at the same time, to be where I'm at today, you have to have that drive, that want to become better than who you were yesterday, or last week, or whatever, a year ago. And, people always say, oh, you're so inspiring. You did this, you did that. I'm like, no, I feel like if any Habesha person that's visually impaired or has other disabilities were in my position, I feel like they would do better, honestly. And there are some Habesha blind people that came via DV, which I'm so proud of them, honestly, because like that's really hard. And there's some that live in Washington, D.C. There's a few who lives in Washington, D.C. and one in Dallas that I know of. And they're doing pretty well. They have the hunger, that drive. And so, yeah, like I said, if you don't make an effort, you're not going to go anywhere. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I love that. Before we move on, I also want to tell you there are so many people watching this interview right now, and they're sending a lot of love, a lot of support, and a lot of thank yous as well. So I just wanted you to know that.
Appreciate it.
So you actually mentioned earlier that you are part of an NGO.
Yeah.
Could you tell us what the name of the NGO is, what the mission is, and what your involvement is as well, and if there is a place for us to find it as well?
Yeah. So it's called, in my opinion, it's too long, but whatever. I'm on the bottom of the food chain. It's called Door of Hope Ethio Ministry for the Blind.
Mhm.
And I think if you type in Ethio Door of Hope, sorry, Door of Hope of Ethio Ministry for the Blind.com, I believe is the website. Basically, it's helping blind people. I think it is based out of Deborah Marcos, and it's helping blind people get supplies for school and textbooks in Braille and computers. Obviously, again, there's so many needs. You don't know where to start, but you got to start somewhere. So that's kind of what that is about. And so it's important to give back. Again, like I said before, somebody else could be in our shoes. And I know we're all helping families back home, grandmas, grandpas, cousins, neighbors, and whatever. But if you even have a used computer or even shoes, whatever it may be, honestly, it's definitely handy. Like if you know a school, like a college or a high school, whatever it may be, they might have a blind student who, because a lot of times what happens with schools is if they have a blind student and they graduate, they get rid of the equipment, and so when we started with this nonprofit, I definitely contacted the University of Boulder. They gave us a lot of cassettes and cassette players and old Braille textbooks that I didn't use, and so just trying to keep the mind active, even though if it's in English, it could help them learn the language. So that's the nonprofit. It's been around since 2008. It started from Denver. The president is Belai. Oh my gosh, I forgot his last name. I apologize, but his name is Belai. There's 7 of us on the board. But just to give back, it's very important. Just because we have the opportunity to be here, and it's good to help out our people for sure.
Absolutely. And just to let you know that we actually just shared the website. People had a chance to look at it briefly as well. So if you guys want to go and check it out on your own, and like you said, help as much as you can, and support each other in that way.
Or even advice would take that for sure. Advice so far as a website or suggestions, whatever it may be. It's
awesome.
It's definitely needed.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's move to adoption. Let me tell you a story. I think about 2 years ago, I went to Los Angeles, and I met these 2 kids that were adopted from Ethiopia, twins, and they were really great. I had, a good chit chat with them, and, introduced myself. We met, and I met the parents as well. But as I was leaving, I felt really awkward as to, I didn't know how to ask, like, can I stay in touch? Or is that stepping my boundary? I never really knew how to approach that. So what are some of the things that we can know as far as adoption and the family of, the adoptive children, and the boundaries in which we can pass and we cannot?
Yeah. How old are the kids, just if you don't mind me asking?
They were, I believe, 9 at the time.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a vulnerable. I can't say the word.
Vulnerable. Now you made me forget.
That's secure times, I guess. So I'll tell a story and then I'll say my input. So when I was trying to go back home, when I was fundraising my my adopted parents were insecure. Like they were upset. Like, why are you trying to fundraise? You grew up in a $1.2 million home. Why are you trying to beg and whatever? So they took that shot, and that really, I think it still damaged me, honestly, to tell you the truth. I was kind of like, I was so hurt because I called them mom and dad. Nothing was going to change. I was just going to get reunited with my family. Like nothing, they put a roof over my head. They, dealt with my teenager years, whatever, with my attitude, whatever, my anger problems, whatever it may be. So like nothing was going to change. But I think they took it personally. And I think they still take it personally just because I'm so passionate about Ethiopia this, Ethiopia that, and Ethiopian music, Ethiopian culture. And so I think from the parents' perspective, I think understand when a child is trying to reunite with its culture, to let them be. Because like with my current situation with my parents, like our relationship is barely hanging on. The only reason is because I have younger brothers and sisters who we're so close. That's the only thread that we have, honestly. Like, and no matter what the situation is, I'll still call mom and dad because they did give me an opportunity. But I would say to the adopted parents, understand where the kids are coming from if they are trying to, assimilate with the Ethiopian culture or whatever culture they're trying to assimilate to. But at the same time, as us adopted kids, it's good to reach out. And again, I talk about my friends because they accepted me. And even though they make fun of me, we always, because we always get in a fight about that because like, so what do you know? You're a foreigner, basically. You say, you're Caucasian, I guess, in a way. And before that used to just burn me, and I used to just get so mad. But again, I think it's like knowing your friends. They don't, how they say there is a little bit of actual truth in a joke. And so it definitely does sting a little bit, but again, you kind of get used to it. It's like, it is what it is. It's part of who you are. And so you can't run from it. And so it's fine. But as far as what the Habesha community could do is just honestly, just have open arms, just, I don't know, treat us like you guys would treat your friends. I guess that's what I would say. But again, I wish, personally, like growing up, I wish they had like I know here in Colorado they have African Heritage Camp. It's not just African, but obviously just that's the majority of the kids that are adopted. But that's really cool, just because you get to reunite with a lot of other adopted kids, and you get to hang out for a week, like almost a week together, and then this gives the parents opportunities to ask questions as far as if there's adult adoptees there. And I was definitely part of a few times on the panel talking to parents what that is like. Because again, another thing is it's going to be a touchy subject because I know in the Habesha culture, especially in the Orthodox culture, the whole gay and lesbian thing, and gays and lesbian adopting kids, that's a hot potato. And that's, I don't know if I shouldn't touch that topic, but it is what it is. I think it's hard because obviously from the American perspective, it's like, oh, you're just giving the kid an opportunity. But at the same time, I feel like as a kid, especially if you adopted me young, actually, well, if you adopt me at any time, honestly, it's going to be confusing. You have two dads and two moms. And so again, as the Habesha community, I know how judgmental we are. And I understand that because it's from the religious aspect. And and that's how my parents are anyway, honestly. My adoptive parents, they think along the lines of the Habesha culture. But I think for me, growing up in Colorado, I understand. I mean, I don't agree with it, but again, at the same time, it's opportunity for somebody. You just have to have the love and support of the Habesha community, and I'm sure you would have to have some counseling because you would have questions. How come I have 2 moms or 2 dads? And again, I'm not hating on that group. I'm just saying the difficulty comes with the adopting as a gay couple, as a lesbian couple. It's not going to be smooth sailing. You have to do all the research and do your homework and understand that the hardcore times you're going to go through, especially probably, I would say probably the first 25 years, just because it takes a while to understand and figure out life. So I have no idea if I answered your question, honestly.
Absolutely. I think for me, it's always been never really knowing when I step in. I think if we could take Boulder as an example, there were a lot of adopted kids in Boulder. I just never knew if I like say, hey, hi, what's up? Like, you know, kind of hang out with you, would that be acceptable or not? Am I imposing myself or not? And no, that's always such an icky space for me to be in. Of course, I want to get to know these kids. Of course, if I can help, even if it's braiding their hairs, I would like to do that. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm imposing myself in a place that I'm not invited to. Does that make sense?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I would say with that is, I guess, ask the parents, because I mean, that way the parents feel comfortable. Because I do definitely understand, like, the parents were like, oh, they're my kids. Why are these Ethiopians trying to be involved in their lives or whatever? So it would just say, like, you would ask the parents, like, oh, how can I help? I just want, I want to look sure if you have any questions, I can help you. It's just kind of like, how can I help you be comfortable or being involved in your kids' lives or whatever it may be? And then I'm sure the parent will be like, well, Sentayo has a behavior issue, and I don't know how to tell her, that's not allowed. Maybe if you tell her, she would understand you more than me, whatever it may be. I'm just using that as an example. Sentayo is my previous Habesha sister's name that was adopted with me, but obviously, due to some circumstances, she got traded away to a different family, but that's another touchy subject.
I'm sorry. I'll leave it. Couple of questions I want to ask you. One is, what is the most exciting thing about this phase of your life?
I think I would say the most exciting, or just accepting or knowing who I am and accepting it. And I think before I didn't have confidence, and so I used to be very shy. And it's always hard for a lot of people, like, what, you shy? But I think shy meaning like furry, not the stuff we drink, by the way. Sorry.
I like what you did there. Okay.
So I think it's just having confidence in my abilities. And again, I wouldn't have that if I didn't go to the Colorado Center for the Blind, and at the same time, having the love and support of my crew. And then, of course, being reunited with my biological mom and half sister and half brother. So I have a half sister from my dad's side. I just was reunited with her in 2012 when I went back the second time. And just being able to have a conversation with Habesha people in Amaringa, like, especially, like, it used to get on my nerves when it'd be like 10 of us in the group eating, and now I'm just like sitting there, let me do my toro. Like, well, I don't know what the hell you guys are saying. And so to be able to be part of the team and, make fun of whatever, like each other, like, oh, gamboras na tedamo, bariana, just like the whole aspect of just making fun of each other, having fun. And so all those things I think are make me happy in life today for sure, and just all the stuff that you go through, like I think made me. I think it makes anybody stronger, and so just the way things ended, or how they are now versus it was to start out. So that's a lot of
Absolutely.
rambling.
Oh no, that's not actually. It reminds me of a lot of those dinners and lunches together. So
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. So a little bit more personal. Has faith played any part in your journey and your growth that you could share with us?
Repeat that one.
Has faith played
Faith,
any role in who you are today, I guess?
That's a good question. I think back in the day it was like I used to be. I mean, I still consider myself Orthodox Christian, whatever. But like back in the orphanage, I remember like around 5 o'clock, I used to be outside just listening to the church because obviously it was close enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to America and you get American washed. And you kind of start losing faith in everything and you just kind of become more spiritual, I would say. So yes and no. And I think partly I kind of like I don't jump into the whole religious hoopla just because the over the top, again, I'm not hating on people's beliefs, but like there's over the top religious people, which means that they will stop you in the middle of the street or sidewalk, like, oh, let me pray for your eyes. And my thing is, I'm thankful you're praying for my eyes, but that wasn't, at least at that time, that was not my main need. My main need was trying to get a job. Because like that was my main obstacle, not my visual impairment. And so that's, again, people assuming that I'm just in a bad situation because I can't see. My bad situation was trying to find a job. And as a blind person trying to get a job, there is probably about 75% of blind people don't have jobs. Not because they're not educated, it's just because of society. They think that we can't even wipe our own butts after we go to the bathroom. That's I mean, I'm not sugarcoating it, I'm being real.
Yeah.
And you know, it's sad, unfortunately, but I lost my train of thought.
Faith.
Oh, faith, yeah. So because of those people, I feel like, yes, they're, you know, they believe in God and all that stuff. At the same time, they're blind to life, real life, I guess I would say. So that's how my mom used to take us to a million different churches, and she would get offended. Like, oh, what happened to your daughter's legs? Oh, we can't go to that church. They're asking too many questions. And eventually my brothers and I were like, nope, we don't want to go to church. And of course they would drag us by force. But then when I moved to Colorado, and you know, we have I think four Orthodox churches, and you know, I usually go to Mariam when there's holidays or whatever. But like I said, I'm more spiritual than like back home. I had faith for sure.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Before we close, do you have any last words that you want to share with us?
So I would say first thing is I love all my adoptees I know, and also I'm sorry, like one more thing. There was, I don't know if you saw it was on YouTube where this adopted Netzanet, whatever her last name is, she went back to Ethiopia and she said her mom dropped her off. And so if her mom's watching, I do want to apologize because she seems like a great mom. Melissa Roger, or whatever her name is. Sorry, that seems rude. But I don't know her last name. But shout out to Melissa and her giving those kids opportunities. So sorry she had to go through all the negative publicity at the beginning. And you know, I know there was a adopted daughter that died in Seattle because bad adopted parents. And rest in peace to her. And parents deserve what they got. But other than that, like I love all my adoptees, Habeshas around the world. And you know, if anybody needs to talk, whether you're an adoptee or a parent who adopted, you know, I mean, I can give my 2 cents, and you can take it however you want to take it. But And then to the rest of my Habesha people and whoever else is listening to this, wanting it won't get it for you. You have to go get it. And I'm proud of you guys because obviously you guys trying to hustle, work hard, and, feed your families and also take care of family back home. So keep grinding, and I love you all. That's it, really.
That's amazing. Before I close, I'm going to go ahead and read you some of the comments that our viewers have been sharing with us. Okay. Just a few. Thank you for sharing your story. You're amazing. You may not see with your eyes, but you definitely see with your heart. Stop making me laugh. Shine for those who are in the dark. Mm-hmm. One viewer said, "I want to be your friend real bad." Another one said, "Thank you for giving back." Another one, "You have overcome many hurdles. You are not disabled, but you have different ways of you are not disabled, but you have a different way of life. Proud of you, my brother." So these are just a few that I wanted to share with you before we close. If you have any last thought on that, I'll give you some moments.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate the support. I mean, again, I didn't do it by myself. I had a great supporting cast, and my adoptive parents gave me the opportunity, and that's some of the sad things. Like when I see kids that are adopted, I know life is hard, but when they waste it by doing stupid stuff, and again, at the same time, what happens is you get caught up in the wrong crowd, and that could have been me. But you know what? I met my Boulder crew. And, because I knew somebody that became like a huge group of there's 8 of us that are really close. I mean, we look like a wolf pack, honestly. And we always look for each other. And, and so I think, like I said, I didn't do it by myself. I had a great supporting cast. And of course, my parents gave me the opportunity to be here. And then, a lot of the kids that get adopted, they don't have parents. And so I was blessed to be reunited with my mom and with my million cousins and their pure love. It's just, honestly, it's like a Habesha thing. Like, I don't think, because like a lot of people say like, oh, Habesha, blah, blah, blah. They're not, not all of them are great, but like I met a few sour grapes, as they say, but like it's, I don't know. It's like our love for each other. When you see each other, you're like a lot of times when people see me, they think I'm just like either Kenyan or Nigerian, whatever. And then, I hear him speaking Amharic, like, "So I'm not sure, huh?" And then like, oh, and it's just like the vibe changes, the love just pours out, and so. Just to those people, I made it to where I'm at today, but it's a lot of support, a lot of branches that I leaned on and grabbed on to help me to get to where I'm at today. So I appreciate everybody's support.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being my guest today. I really, really appreciate it. You're taking the time off your day to come here and talk with us. And I also appreciate our viewers that has sat through this conversation with us and participated. I know from all the comments, you guys really appreciated this conversation. And I hope you've learned a lot as much as I have. And next week, we'll come back with another Viewer Digest event. Until then, we'll see you. Have a wonderful week.
Adebabay Media yeni ነው. Adebabay Media የኔም ነው. Adebabay Media የኔ ነው. Adebabay Media የሁላችንም ነው. የኛ ቤተሰብ Adebabay Mediaን ይመለከታል። የእናንተስ? Do your parents watch Adebabay Media? Watch, follow, subscribe and help Adebabay. Adebabay Media ለወገንተኝነት ጀርባውን የሰጠ
አደባባይ ሚዲያ ለወገንተኝነት ጀርባውን የሰጠ ጊዜያዊ ጥቅምን አምቢኝ ብለው የዘመመን ሊያቀና እውነትና እውቀትን አስከትሎ ኢኮኖሚያዊና መንፈሳዊ መረጃዎችን እንካችሁ ይላል። ትኩስ ዜናዎች፣ ዘጋቢ ፊልሞች፣ ጥልቅ ትንታኔዎች በአደባባይ ሚዲያ ይቀርባሉ። ራዕያችን ጊዜውን ያማከለና ዘመኑን የዋጀ በእውነት የነጠሩ መረጃዎችን በእውቀት ደግፎ ለሀገራችን ብሎ ለዓለም ሕዝብ ማዳረስ ነው። አድሬሳችን አደባባይ ኢንፎ ሚዲያ @gmail.com፣ በዌብሳይታችን www.adebabay.com። ያግኙን፣ ይርዱን። የሁላችንም ስለሆነች ኢትዮጵያ በአደባባይ እንዘግባለን። አደባባይ ሚዲያ